Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, afternoon, good evening, afternoon, good evening, afternoon, good evening, afternoon, good evening. That echo is intense. That echo is intense. Time to turn that echo off. Excellent. Welcome to the Joe Hill's Patreon server, Deep Slate 9. Tonight I will be working to build a nether ring tunnel. So let's put the screen up. Let's let everybody know I'm streaming. Give people a proper chance to hear what's going on. Okay, we're going to go to one of the tunnels and just start building. We are in Minecraft 1.19. Well, 119, I guess, is the best, better way to say it. This project, this is, I believe, our fifth weekend working on this project. We updated to 119 right in the middle of the process. That derailed things. Then holidays and real life got in the way for a lot of us. So I'm going to be starting to build and see how much we can actually get done today. Ooh, let's go fixing those configuration visuals. Let's go over the extra false. Hello, Grace. Welcome to the stream chat. There's some rockets here. I guess I could just use the chest to store all this. For the first part of the stream, I'm simply going to be placing blue terracotta. I'll just put this extra here. Turning on easy place mode. The entire goal of this is to just place blue terracotta. I won't be too ambitious tonight, just start crossing things off the list so that we can have things done. So slabs too. Slabs. Some birch slabs too. Easy place is a magical tool, but sometimes it's frustrating, but I think in this case it's important because if we didn't have this, the project would take forever. So the mods I'm using right now, these are Massa mods. I'm using Lightmatica by Massa. He has a Discord. Pretty much everyone in, well, I don't say everyone, but many people in the technical Minecraft community and the creative SMP community, Hermitcraft, use these mods to basically add some quality of life improvements. And the biggest one is the addition of schematics, so that we can build things in creative and then build them in game. That's super. Oh wow. That's why I set things to. See if I got anything damage. Actually damaged. Oops. Okay, all fixed. So this is where we're kind of trying to get this stuff done because getting ambushed in the tunnel while we're trying to work is kind of frustrating. Hopefully just adding these layers of blocks will help make the tunnels a lot safer and make it a lot easier for us to do the detail work we need to do. Right now my schematic set to transparent because, being able to see behind the schematics so you can see the ghast is important. important. Hello, Magenta. How are you doing today? I gotta pay closer attention to the chat because, I'm not so used to just watching it. Also, it's been like a month since I played, done streams for Minecraft, which, you know, you get busy and then you start finding excuses to not do it. And, like most excuses, they're probably not the best things to have. We're just gonna keep going until I run out of slabs. Oh, nice. That's a pretty good close for these slabs. Sometimes Litematica desynchronizes with the server, and you get things like that where the blocks shouldn't be placed, but they get placed anyways. That is unfortunately just a side effect of, playing on a server. Oh man, reach all the way up there. Probably shouldn't be able to do that, but I'm sure I have the Litematica settings give me creative levels of reach override. Whoops. Go. Oh, Sakara. Better leave access to Sakara space open. I believe Sakara has set up their base in a mushroom biome, which is, a fun biome to build on because, mobs don't spawn on it, so you can be as creative as you want with light levels and, decorations. Drawback is mobs don't spawn on it, so you don't get a chance to, build mob farms. Yeah, I agree, Magenta. Or, I agree, Grace. Sorry about that. Your names are showing up in the same color on my screen, so. But yeah, it's something we live with. Like, the alternative is to not have mods like this at all and having to do things like in the olden days where everything just took forever and you needed 2 or 3 clients open just to verify you're making something correctly. Joe Hills is streaming. So if he is streaming long enough, we will raid him when I'm done. He's doing Draw for Charity right now, which is, oh, I should know this off by heart by now. I've heard it so many times. But it's a charity that, that's a good question. It's a charity. They play, started by playing Uno for 48 hours, which, as you can imagine, probably isn't the best thing to do for a stream because 48 hours straight is hard on the body. But it is quite good to see content creators doing charity work. Well, it looks like we might end up rating this stream an hour after Joe does that. Because, 2 hours of this should be enough. It does get exhausting after a while. Sorry, just had to respond to a quick text message. One day I'll be professional enough to turn off my phone properly when I stream, but till then, I'm going to continue to answer important messages when I get them. I'm running low on blue terracotta, which is good because that means we're using it properly. Go down there. Bearish menu. Easy place last. This is an easy place feature that allows you to configuration menu, vector layers, layer range, set here. There we go. So I can look basically straight down. So this will let me look straight down. So when I post, I can just go along. I should say that more carefully. So I need to be careful, like, because I don't have all the items in my inventory, but it lets me do a lot more work. Oops. So the point of this isn't to do things perfectly on the first try, but just to get as many blocks in place as possible. That way, I totally lost my train of thought. Something about just doing the job in parts so that you can finish it up. And that last 80% takes not as much of the time. Gas down there. Hopefully it doesn't see us, because I don't particularly want to fight it. One of the problems with projects like this is when you start to lose momentum, it's very difficult to get the momentum back. So hopefully by just diving in, this leads to a return to momentum for the project, because I do want to work on another hub project. I do have ideas for the actual hub, but I just want to get these ones done before deciding whether or not like another big project is the best plan for the server. Well, not the server, for myself to commit to, but also getting the community involved and participating, because you know it's a lot of work doing group projects, and there's lots of people who say, "Oh, I want to help," who genuinely want to help, and then you have to be like, "Okay, well, you want to help, so what's the plan?" I do have a sort of plan for the Nether hub. It involves bedrock breaking and a large, I don't want to say mega structure because everybody says mega now in Minecraft, but definitely something worth yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely tired today. I was up very early and up very late, which, happens from time to time. But I wasn't counting on being exhausted for this. Now I sort of know how Joe feels when he doesn't sleep at all and then streams for a whole bunch of charities. We just kind of slowly work our way through. Thankfully, the rings are very simple in design, unlike the actual hub tunnels, which have a different design to each of them. The designs for this one is very, not identical, but, well, actually, yeah, identical. It's very straightforward. And a repeating design the whole way, because it is quite a lot. There's definitely a part of me that worries about projects like this and biting off more than we can chew. There we go. We finally made it to the end of one line, which, okay. Generic, easy place, turn off, easy place first. So as you can tell, there's not an insignificant amount was missed by my walkthrough. But at the same time, not an insignificant amount was hit, so it's all trade-offs. There we go. Perhaps I should have left. Easy place last on, first on. Just gonna fly to the Nether hub. Just the NJ. Crash into like a wall. Another house. Oh, we have a lace here. And snow parkour. I think this is something Vin invented. I don't know if it's original to Vin, but Vin was the first person who showed it to us. For this parkour, you place on your leather boots, and then you can jump up the powdered snow blocks. Interesting. I guess that's why you're supposed to take the boots with you. Let's just go back here until everybody's ready, because I don't want to just stand around waiting forever, feeling like I could be doing something. Right, that sounded a lot like shade, but it was not intended to be shady. Or it takes me a second to fly out to the hub. So when people are ready, it's not a chore for me to be available. And it'll let me clear out a few extra areas. Shame on me for not being perfect. Arrow. Oh, not my foot mobs. Hey, Stellar. How are you tonight? I'm glad shopping was successful, seller. Hello, NJ. Discord says that you're muted.
Take two?
Hello, how are you today?
I'm well. I got through my work week and the thing I'm doing starts soon, but I wanted to come
Good.
help a little bit since I was too tired to stream last night.
Oh, that's fair. Do you draw for charity?
Yeah.
Would you like to follow me this way to where I'm building?
Yes. Lead the
Um,
way, kind sir.
so draw for charity. For the longest time, I thought it was a drawing stream because
Well,
draw for charity, right? Like,
at certain points, hold on, I'm gonna munch on a tater here. Um, at certain points, it is kind of a drawing stream because we've had artists um do like come on as guests and they would draw like D&D characters and stuff. But actually, the draw for part comes from Uno.
I know. When I found that out, I was like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. And then I was like, I would have never thought of it because when I think of charity, I don't immediately go, oh yes, Uno. That's what I think of.
That's valid too.
So this is the area we're working in. I'm using
Okay.
a schematic to place things, and I know you
Oh,
don't use schematics, which is
you are
fair.
using Monica, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Fabulous. Okay.
But what I can get you to do is basically fill in the blanks in these partially completed panels. Because you can see here we have the arrow that will eventually get filled in,
Uh,
and
what what block are we using to fill in these
blue
arrows?
terracotta, which is that terracotta you
Ooh.
gathered a month ago now.
Yes, I actually really enjoyed completely like trashing the mesa for it. Not
So,
gonna lie.
and now we don't have to do that anymore because, clay is renewable.
Mm,
So,
the mesa can relax.
but I've been just going along and placing the remaining halves of these sides. And
I see, I see.
so for me, it looks like magic, of course, because I'm using schematics. But
Mm-hmm.
at the end of
Well,
this tunnel, do you have
yes,
rockets
ma'am.
on you?
I do. I have 56.
Okay, let's head to the end of the tunnel,
Whee!
which isn't that far at all. But
Oh, yeah, that's not that far. It's one rocket. Boop.
but I
Okay.
have supplies here. So I'm just placing the logs and the blue terracotta to kind of get the
Okay.
main outline done, just to finish
Okay.
things up. And then we
Okay.
can go through and, and tomorrow's and stream and Sunday stream, I was going to go through and start being like doing the small detail work.
Yeah,
So
I can probably hop in, like not obviously not stream, but if I'm not backup or anything, I can come in and kind of just hang out while I'm watching our stream.
that would be great. So I
Yeah.
think I have enough laid out that you can follow along without using the schematic. But
Okay. So it's 1, 2, 5, 6. Looks like it's about 8 or 9 high.
so yeah, so I'm going to go across the top of this other side and kind of place in the tops of the pillars so it's
Okay.
easier to follow along because
And
that way
then
there'll be
there's blue terracotta in between the birch logs, right?
not directly in between, like in between the gap here, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah, that's what
yeah,
I mean.
yeah, no.
Yeah, basically
Windows are
where that one is, all the way down.
yeah, and for these ones it's going to be windows looking out into the Nether,
Ooh.
and then
Very
here
nice,
it's going to
very
be
nice.
this arrow pattern that
Okay.
M designed, months ago for her.
What will be filling in here?
Different colors of glass and the different frog lights,
Oh, very
and
good.
then I think sea lanterns for one of them.
Oh, perfect.
So,
Yeah, perfect. Okay.
so
I definitely will do my best
yeah,
because I'm assuming that it goes about 8 or 9 high, and then it has the birch across the top.
yeah, and I will go across the top to make fill in the top so it's easier. So you only need to really worry about like just filling in.
6, 7, 8, 9. So it's
Yes.
9.
Yeah.
Okay. 9 high.
Okay. 'Cause I
Very good.
use.
And then you're gonna basically just carve out what needs to be then,
Yeah,
right?
like any
Yeah.
mistakes, I can just carve out with instant mine on the picks, so that makes things a lot easier for us.
Fabulous. Okay. Let's see. Uh, I have about 20 minutes. I will see how much I can do for you in those
Perfect.
20 minutes.
Yeah. The only challenging part is making sure that when you're done, the stuff in your inventory gets returned.
Oh, of course. Well, I mean,
Because
like, I'm not streaming it, so I can just like empty my pockets out the first chance I get.
that's true.
I'm not worried about that.
Okay.
And then there are spruce slabs here. I'm assuming that's going to be for the ceiling.
No, the ceiling is actually going to be glass and then more birch. There's going to be archways on
Fantastic.
top. So,
I love it. Yes.
so it's going to match the main tunnels like pretty directly. It's just going to have a little bit more. It's going to be very uniform in its own way compared to like the tunnels where each tunnel had its own distinct
Mhm.
color palette. This one's a little bit simpler, but since these tunnels are about twice as long as the cardinal direction tunnels when you add everything together,
Mhm. Yeah.
it seemed a lot simpler just to be like, okay, we're gonna have one color of terracotta, not four colors of terracotta.
Mm. Okay, so and then each arrow has the top of the arrow is the top of the thing. So think I can kind of play it by ear if they're all equidistant in
They
terms of like
they are.
yeah,
Everything, the pattern repeats. And again, like if there's any mistakes, it takes me like a split second to find the errors with the schematics. So I'm not too
fantastic.
terribly worried about errors because just being able
Oh,
to go by, make a pass and break blocks to get everything taken care of should keep things going quickly.
unless you're like me and completely fall in.
Yeah. Just don't fall off the edge because there's Nether on the other side.
Yeah, yeah, I see that. I'm um looking at where these are placed. Looks like okay, they stop there. Good to know. Okay. Just trying to get my bearings in terms of where this all goes.
Yeah.
I think I can get it.
Yeah, hopefully I've put enough of the blocks in that it starts to get intuitive after a bit, but I'm not too terribly stressed if it just, you know, if it stumbles because you know it is with these big projects, right? Once you lose momentum by say, 1.19 being released, it takes a lot of work to get that momentum back.
I know, right?
So I'm hoping just by starting on this process, people will have a chance to will be able to just, oh yeah, we can finish this,
Mm-hmm.
and then move on to the next big community project,
Mm.
or maybe
And
the Bahala plots.
there's always something to do. And it's been tough. I mean, like with my new job, well, it's over. It's not exactly new anymore. I've been there now almost 4 months, if you can believe it.
Yeah,
Um, I'm finding now that sometimes I'm working later and later to finish things uh, in a timely fashion.
yeah.
Yesterday I worked until about 9,
Oh
and
wow.
yeah, that was mainly because I had to take about an hour out. Well, one, I woke up really late for work, and they're like, "No, no, no, we know. You're getting reacclimated to being in the office. It's fine. Just, make up the time accordingly." And I'm like, "Okay, I can do that." Um, but then, what jahoozy? Finding out that a couple of people came back positive at PlayOnCon, and they're like, "Yeah, you might want to go get tested." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna go get tested now." So yesterday I went to go get a PCR because I still felt funny after a couple of days, but
Okay,
not like coughing or anything like that. Just really tired. If that makes any sense, just
that
really
does make
freaking tired.
sense. And there's also that problem with COVID is like, a lot of the symptoms of COVID are a lot like, exhaustion
Yep.
and, con crud, which, people used to joke about, and now it's not such a joking matter anymore.
Well, to be fair, some of us still joke about it when it's not COVID, and it's just like, yep, con crud hits again,
Yeah,
because that's what it does.
right. It's like having friends whose kids are in like daycare. Every time you visit, you're like, oh yeah, we might have some,
We might have this thing that you don't want, but here, we like to share, so have it anyway.
yeah.
That happened to Manatee and I back in at the last convention we went to that wasn't gaming related. It was back in 2016, and half the con got a stomach virus.
Oh,
It because apparently that was the new hot thing going around that year, so everybody got sick.
that's brutal.
We only missed a day of the conference. It was
Yeah. Day of the conference, and then a week of work after getting home. No big deal, right?
yeah. No, of course not. Okay, if I do that, that's gonna be a bad time. So I'm not. Hey,
Yeah, there's a
hey,
lot
don't
of
make
lava
don't make me
lake
come
over
over
here.
there. Sorry, I'm gonna yell at the guests because I can.
I just kind of punch the fireballs away and try to ignore them.
Well, yeah, I can use the terracotta to bat it away. That should be okay. Look,
So tell me more about Draw for Charity, because
of
it's
course.
hearing the pitch, from Joe and you every year. It's always still good to hear it like in person, because I'm
Well,
deathly afraid of getting something really important like wrong.
oh no, you're more than fine. So basically, Draw for Charity is it's basically a group of friends um, that that actually I met through Joe. Postability, McBoots, Brosephine, Gamma Liz, um, Joe, and myself. The six of us. Wait, I did mention everybody, right? Gamma, Brosephine, Pasta, Joe, myself, and oh my god, my brain's blanking. I'm tired. But basically, yeah, the six of us, we would start playing Uno, and we would just start. That's how we got to know each other, was just playing Uno. And Pasta came up with this idea of, well, what if we did it for 48 hours, and what if we did it for charity, and we could do it for child's play because we're all penny arcade enthusiasts, and that's kind of how we met, was at the Penny Arcade Expo Unplugged, um, and so we're like, yeah, let's do it, let's do it, let's do it, and so we just said, let's do it for charity, let's do it for 48 hours, let's see what happens, and sure enough, it just became this thing where we got to tiltify together, and we started a channel, and we did it. We just played Uno for 48 hours straight and just took turns, and it was wonderful. We raised about 5,000 that year, just
Wow.
out of sheer will, I guess. And it just kind of became our thing, where we would just, we do this every year, and now we have different roles and responsibilities. So I'm considered the advocacy director. So I'm always looking for new charities that we could work with, to do smaller events, because Child's Play is our big, like, flagship summer event, and then we raise money for World Builders in December, like
Oh,
right around PAX Unplugged.
what's World Builders?
World Builders is an organization that helps support organizations. They're kind of like a charity that helps charities.
Oh, okay.
And their work mainly focuses with um, um, Heifer International. So Heifer International is an organization that helps impoverished families uh, receive and learn about raising animals. I think animal husbandry and that kind of thing, so that they can be self-sufficient,
Oh,
which
that's
is really cool.
that's very useful.
hmm And with Child's Play was started by the Penny Arcade duo, and what it does is it provides games and equipment for those games and things of that nature, along with training on how to keep those items properly sanitized, and sends them over to hospitals, domestic abuse shelters, places like that, so that kids, when they're experiencing something that is completely scary to them, and they're having a really rough go because they're in the hospital, they're in this place they don't want to be, they can have just that little modicum of joy. um, and so we're really proud to be able to support them that way. And in this 48-hour block, um, we've expanded it since starting with Uno. um, oh, there's somebody's bases over here, Kindless.
Uh,
We might want to be aware of that.
yes, I believe that is Sakara's base.
Yeah, and somebody else's. I didn't catch the name. I only noticed Sakara's because it was lit up.
Yeah, I will definitely be
But
endeavoring
yeah,
not to cover up other people's base access or hub tunnel
yeah,
access.
that would be a good thing to not do
Yeah,
that to.
kind of would defeat the purposes of this project to just.
A little bit. Let's see. That has so I think we can get away with that. So I think there's supposed to be one maybe sticking out here, right? So it's one, then three, then three, 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 and then one. So I think we can get away with that, kinda, maybe. But yeah. So this year we're kicking things off with Uno. And then we're going to do Among Us, and I'll be running that.
Oh, nice.
Um,
What time is the Among Us stream?
it'll start at 8:30 Central.
Central's Joe time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I always have to ask because, time zones just get so easy to make a small mistake.
Mm,
But 30, that'd be 9:30 here. Okay. That's only. I still have another. I've decided I'm streaming only for 2 hours tonight
that's more than valid. Yeah,
because I just still find myself getting burnt out after too much time spent
and that's
just
more
talking
than
to
fair.
myself.
Well, I'm glad to be with you for part of it. Kind of ease your voice a little bit. Happy to help.
Well, it's good to hear about these charities that everybody's working on because, like I said, the worst thing I could do is misspeak and say something that is just,
Of course,
it
you wanna
sounds
you wanna be
correct,
respectful.
but it
Hmm.
is just wrong enough to be like concerning to the public, right? Because there's so many charities who sound close to the ones you're working on who may not
Mm-hmm.
actually be the best charities in the world.
Mm. Well,
So,
I appreciate, being able to come help you with this and for you to be kind enough to lend your platform to our event. That really means a lot.
um,
I'm very touched that you wanted me to talk about it.
well, it's important, and when I have someone who is, working in, with the charities directly, it's always good to get, you know, firsthand information.
Mm-hmm. Of course, and I'm happy to provide it to the best of my ability. But yeah, we have a whole bunch of different guests this year. We're going to be playing Mario Kart and Sagrada. There's a great podcast that'll be on. We have the Penny Arcade Racing League. Tomorrow, Joe is running an Among Us game with the Hermits. I don't know if I don't, and friends, because he has a couple of other people joining in. Um, I don't know if I'll be participating in that. I might be, but I don't know. He has to let me know.
Okay.
But
Oh, it's always
that'll
hard to
be
do,
fun.
especially when it's like, Among Us, where you need, you know, it gets unwieldy once you hit a certain threshold.
Yeah,
So,
sometimes the unwieldiness works in your favor. I know tonight we have about 10 people playing, so that'll be fun.
yeah, I think my experience, that's kind of, that's like kind of the upper, as well, that might be a little bit beyond the upper limit for keeping track of who is who, right? But
But that's half the fun.
that
You want
is true.
you can with Among Us you could have it in one of two different ways. Either A, you have 5 or 6 people, maybe seven, and then you play hide and seek mode, and then it just becomes hilarious as you watch people really embrace being the imposter. And it's kind of hilarious to see like how over the top they play it if they choose to play it over the top. Like I love playing it over the top. Everyone's like, "Oh my goodness, you are terrifying." I'm like, "That's the point. I'm supposed to scare you. That's part of the fun." And then when you get to 15, you kind of just um you kind of just point fingers, and everyone's like, "Oh, just get your stuff done." And at the same time, it's like, "No, you're an imposter." And it kind of just you sit back and watch the pop, you like grab the popcorn and just go.
Do you get to that point with larger groups where you get down to that smaller number and like the
Mhm.
style of the game just shifts?
Mhm. That's really one of the best parts. There's a great there's a great Among Us song that I was introduced to by it was a duo, the Stupendium and Dan Bull, they're nerdcore rappers, and they did an Among Us song, and it's really really funny because it talks about all the things that you've mentioned about like, oh well, I don't trust you, you don't trust me, pick somebody, let's make this happen, let's go, we got to figure out how we're going to survive this, that kind of thing. And there's two different versions of the song based on who the audience or like who the crewmates would pick,
Oh,
which I
interesting.
find very interesting. If it's one of the ones I would introduce you to. When we were driving down to play on con, um, I was introducing Joe and Badger to the Stupendium, and the first song I played for them was the Toy Box. And I probably shouldn't have started with that one because they just kind of looked at it and went, "Okay, that was a thing." Um,
Oh,
the
actually, if you say you start Weird Al album without telling people that it's Weird Al,
mm-hmm, yeah, basically.
or a Sean Hills album without mentioning Joe.
Basically, I failed in my mission. So of course, Joe retaliated. Not well, retaliated isn't necessarily the right word, but I guess countered would be a good word for it. Countered with the rapper from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. And I just sat there and cackled because it's one of my favorite episodes, and I recognized the singer right away. And I was like, "Oh my god! Of course you would play something from Aqua Teen Hunger Force."
It's been a long time since I've seen that show.
It is apparently based in New Jersey, and it didn't surprise me one bit. Like super South Jersey, apparently. Like
Uh,
down the shore, past down the shore Jersey.
Interesting.
Did I put those logs in the right place? Because I didn't know where else to put the terracotta because it was starting to
Yep.
get into the where the arrows territory
Yeah.
is.
No, no, it's
So,
good. I'm just getting
uh,
these last little corner bits in between the two pillars.
now, if we need to go through the back and kind of balance this all out to kind of block this in, um, I did take all of that nether rack that we had from the build, and it's at the stack exchange
Uh,
or the stone exchange
oh yes. Oh,
if we
Dez's
need
build.
it.
No, I think
Hmm?
we're good because like right now I'm gonna finish up this these last loads and just move on to the next section
Ah, very
because
good.
this is you know I'm trying to get this ready also for a handoff
Yes,
so that way if it gets to the point where things are done we can just continue going.
that sounds. Whoa. Okay, I'm a little. There we go. Okay, that sounds good. I can just go put these back in the case though.
Okay.
I, 'Cause I need to actually peace out. I need to go get ready, but I appreciate you always.
Well, thanks
Uh,
for coming out and telling us all about
of
Draw
course.
4. I'm sure
Of course, I hope I see you during the weekend.
I'm sure I'll try to find time to pop into the various
Hmm.
streams.
Yes, and you should promote what's going on the server this weekend too, because there it's not Draw for Charity is a big event, but we here have a big event too. So like our big. Oh, hello there. Aren't you kind of nice and scary?
The Bahala builds.
Nope.
Oh, oh yes,
Nope.
these
All right,
things.
got that one. Yep.
Those
No.
are baby ones.
Well, they're gonna be baby pork chops when I'm done with them.
That's good. Then you won't have to eat rotten flesh anymore.
I just do that for the lulz, really. And when I'm absolutely starving. No, stay still so I can shoot you in the face. There we go. Nope, I missed that one, didn't I? Yep, got that one.
There we go.
I don't
Did you
enjoy
pick?
this.
Did you pick up any of these
Fighting.
shulkers in your?
I uh I have my empty one that I brought with me.
Oh no, just make sure you didn't pick up any of the supply shulkers.
Negative.
Okay, perfect. I am gonna
I
head
took
to.
I took one out, but I put all the supplies back in. No,
Okay,
two, but I put all the supplies back in them. So you should have everything. I have nothing that is yours.
okay,
None.
perfect. Well, thanks for your help, NJ, and
You're
good luck
welcome.
today and with all the other activities.
Yep, I'm gonna
And
just follow you real quick to the next section,
yeah,
and then I'll log out for a little while, and I'll try to be back in a bit. Who's streaming tonight, by the way?
so far I am, and then I think that's it.
Oh, okay. So tomorrow's the big day.
Yeah, we're
Oh,
just, you know, we're going slow. I was
well,
available, so I'm gonna do it,
well,
and
yeah.
then
Builds like this, you don't. They're not done in a day,
yeah.
so that makes sense.
So,
But yeah, good luck. We got this, and I'll pop in when I can.
okay, thanks.
See you
Later, NJ.
later.
How's it going?
Good. How are you, Op?
I'm
I'm
doing
streaming, by the
well.
way. Just make sure you know, so people can hear you.
Oh yeah, thanks for the heads up.
Yeah. But so what I'm doing, are you using Lightmatica or the supplies, or are you just gonna follow along?
I'm using Lightmatica. I've got the
Okay,
schematics you uploaded previously.
perfect. But what I'm doing is I'm just going along and placing the terracotta and the birch like pillars, just to kind of get the initial shape filled out, and then I'll probably swing back and start adding detail once the walls around the rings are done, because there's nothing quite like doing detail work when getting shot at by ghasts.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I'll just work on that as well.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Yeah, so my trick is I kind of go to the top, and I just use easy place to kind of run along the
Yeah,
edge and cover as much as I can.
yeah. I was watching your stream. It's the way to go.
The big one is turning off easy place first. So that way you can look straight down and kind of place a whole bunch of blocks all in a row.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, it's not the best setting when you're trying to build like complicated things because you keep hitting blocks behind you, but for stuff like this, it breezes through.
Yeah, it's good to get like the basic blocks downstairs. Directional things gets tricky.
Yeah. It's one of those reasons why I don't actually object to using easy place on servers, because if you just flail about, it never looks like the way you want. But
Yeah.
when you get to
It's
the
not like
more
you're.
when you get to those more technical servers where they have cervix installed, and easy place literally places everything perfect every time, then it starts to feel a little cheaty.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's basically like pasting, and there's like the printer thing too. I
Yeah,
don't know if you've seen that,
I have.
which is like basically a bot
uh,
or close to it.
Yeah, not like I appreciate those ones for their functionality, but at that point, it's like if you're taking away all of the challenge, it doesn't feel like survival anymore. Like even this
Yeah, like
sometimes,
where you,
even this sometimes doesn't feel like survival perfectly, but also when it's, you know, a 600 block by 600 block circle, I'm not really gonna do things by hand and then have to come back for several weeks and fix things.
yeah, I know exactly what you mean. But it's also nice for like validation, if anything.
Oh,
You know,
yeah. Like,
especially when you're working on like a really big build.
oh, yeah. And, you know, when doing redstone builds, like, being able to find that one repeater you set wrong is life-saving when you're, you know, oh yeah, if anything's wrong here, this entire machine will tear itself apart.
Yeah, exactly.
Kratom, I'm working on a copper oxidizing machine that basically stacks. Yeah, I posted pictures of what I was working on. And then I built a model, and then I decided it wasn't good enough, and I had to do it all over again because it took too long.
I saw that, but I couldn't like. I was looking at it, and I haven't looked at any like plans or videos for like that. What does it do
Well,
versus just like
when
air?
copper ages, right, it checks that 4x4 cube around itself and says,
Mhm.
like, hey, is there copper of my type in this space? And if
Okay,
there's copper of my type in this space, don't change. Or you dramatically reduce the chances of a change, right?
I
But
see.
if there's a copper of type that's more aged, when it does that math, it averages it out. So if you have, say, you know, 1 fresh copper and
Okay.
then 9 oxidized copper, you know, it'll go, okay, there's one of me, or one extra one beside me, right? And then, but there's also 9 oxidized ones, so I have a 1 in 9 chance of having the effectiveness canceled, basically. So instead of having to
Okay.
space the copper out perfectly, you can pack it in very, very densely by surrounding it with oxidized copper.
Got it. Got
So
it.
that
Okay.
machine is like 24 11 block long vertical slices of copper surrounded by oxidized copper. So it takes about 9 hours to convert all the way into oxidized copper for, you know, 2 shulkers or so worth of copper.
Does it then like monitor them, move them, or anything like that, or
Yeah, the
is
machine
it just
basically loads everything in the top and spits it out the bottom.
okay?
And then it puts everything into like a block stream, and then it gets fed through a blast chamber. So you can just kind of do your
Oh,
thing,
okay.
and
Okay.
then, you know, when you're ready, you just add more fresh copper to the top, and you get oxidized copper out the bottom at a 1-for-1 ratio. So unless you're doing truly massive copper builds, whatever amount you need, like, oh, I need 3 or 4 stacks, I'll go put 3 or 4 stacks in the machine, and then you get it all out.
That's rather handy.
So, but when I designed the machine, I used the design by Cubic Meter, one of the, you know, technical Minecrafters who used to be on SciCraft. And he had this
Mm.
big machine that was set up to basically, you know, you build from, you know, world height to, you know, bottom. And you have 4 giant, huge modules that let you basically, you put copper in the top, and by the time it gets to the bottom, it's all oxidized. And then I took
Oh,
one of
I
those
see.
massive, massive slices and just simplified it down until I was down to, like, you know, with the size of the module that holds about, you know, 2 stacks of blocks, or 2 shulkers full blocks. Because I, you know, there was no way I was going to need, like, you know, be able to have 40 active shulkers of copper aging at any one time.
Yeah, every time I see like SciCraft videos or like stuff they're doing, I'm like, I like that, and I need it on about a tenth of the scale
Yeah.
for anything I would do.
So I modified it, but I used the same brain because, you know, each of those modules had like its own brain, and I guess, when I found the design and kind of figured it out like 5, 6 months ago, I didn't really have the skill or patience to figure out my own brain. So I built it and realized, hey, this machine's kind of slow because it's designed to go at like 1/4 block placement speed. Because, it's something that's supposed to be split up between 4 modules, and I just had the one module. So I was like, I can make this a lot faster because I'm not using this as a machine where I just put blocks in and then new ones come out. I'm using this as a machine where, I put, what I need in, and what comes out is my, what I have, right? So I was
Yeah,
like,
it's just to order.
So I was like, well, then I can make the clock a lot faster because, speed of putting it in is, saving time. So I did a whole bunch of math and changed out the whole, bottom half of the farm to basically pull blocks out and made a new brain. And modified the brain that, Cubic had developed with his friends to be faster. And, how fast can I get this to be without actually, breaking it? And use etho hopper clocks to control it. So it was like a game of, okay, I'll just take, let's take 8 blocks out of the clock and see what happens. Okay, let's take out 4 more. Oh, it crashed. Okay, let's take out 2 more. So I trialed and errored it until,
Yeah.
and I got it almost twice the speed. I'm sure I could have optimized it just a tiny bit more to get it to be twice the speed, but I'm happy with it the way it is.
Yeah, I have that optimization problem where, like, if I'm designing or building something, it's, tracing diminishing returns to a certain degree.
Yeah, definitely had to
I have
learn
that
to
desire.
yeah, definitely had to learn to know when to be like, no, this is good enough.
Yeah.
So
But I mean, that's, there's fun in that experience as well.
oh yeah,
It's when it becomes frustrating, like when you're like being like burnt out and frustrated, and then you got to watch it.
yeah. And it's like, sometimes I'll just build like a farm made by someone because I know, hey, this person has like the best designs. Like when I make an mango farm, right? Like I made my own mud farm, but it was too slow, right? It worked at, 400, or was it at basically hopper speed? And I'm like, but I could get it to be 0 tick and be twice hopper speed. And I was like, well, maybe I'll just use Mango's design because his design is already that fast. But
Exactly. Yeah.
it's like, okay, I made my own version. It worked this fast. Someone else, like I know they made it better, so I was just like, well, I'm just gonna use their design rather than fighting with my design to basically get something that I know someone else has.
Yeah, I'm at the point too where I'm still learning from a lot of those designs. So like, and then a lot of times at the end I'll be like, oh, look, I could change this or that or make it a little better.
Yeah.
But,
And I think part of it was like just realizing that I didn't need to make it better to make it more useful for my needs. Like I have a nether tree farm that right now I have it about as optimized as I can get it. But, in 6 or 8 months I might have more ideas on how to make it better. But it's one of those things where I started with an original design because I watched a video with Etho where he explained how, those self-perpetuating nether tree farms work. And since he explained it well enough, I was able to be like, okay, he's explained it so I can understand the principles, so now I can build a farm around this idea.
yeah, I totally understand that too, because like I tend to like I'll go grab a schematic or a world download or something and start with that, and then I've like built a thing and I don't understand it, and I don't feel like you know you have to have the explanation to go with it in a lot of cases, because particularly Redstone, it's not very intuitive
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. I find,
Well, it's just,
especially if you're coming from like a programming background or something. So many oddities.
yeah. And then learning how those oddities make things possible, right? Like, I watched a streamer the other day and they're using block update order to do stuff, and I'm just like, this shouldn't work, but they're looking at the order the blocks update to make their farm actually work.
That's crazy.
And I'm just like, this is like a whole bunch of pistons firing in the exact same tick, and yet the farm works perfectly. Like,
So you mean like when the server evaluates tick updates, it does it like it has an order of blocks of types or something?
yeah, like it's like it orders the pistons in a very specific pattern based on where they're activated from and how they're activated, right? Are they activated with a 0
I see.
tick? Are they activated with like, a 2 game tick pulse? Like, all kinds of just weird rules, right?
Gotcha.
So it's like I was watching them do that and be like, yeah, there's no way I can build at this level. But then also, like, I used to say that about like Impulse's sorting system, right? Like that, everybody can make practically from like without even thinking about it. They just go, oh yeah, I can build it, right? Because you've made that
Yeah,
sorter
yeah.
so many times. But it
I've
was
gotten to that point too.
right. And it was just fascinating to watch when it's like, oh, okay, so basically you are moving one block like 6 spaces per tick.
Yeah, and the stuff that I see the SiteCraft folks doing, I'm wondering, how much like are they doing this because they're reading, they're reading the code, obviously, and then it's not that different than like reverse exploitation,
Yeah,
in security, right? Because basically what they're doing is, I mean, it's borderline exploitation, right? But
yeah,
it's just within the constraints of the game itself, right? You're not like fuzzing or firing arbitrary inputs. You're doing what you can, but you're just kind of definitely not intended functionality.
yeah. Grace says, at a much smaller scale, I've been looking at Zeta's item shooter from last season and thinking about a brain for a similar shooter. Grace, do you mean the potion making machine that Zeta did that flung the ingredients across the screen? Or across in a big arc? Because that was a very cool build. And, Zeta is weirdly, like, becoming apparent that he's one of the best redstoners on the Hermitcraft server. He just uses it for, Rube Goldberg machines.
I've noticed that, and those like, in a lot of sense, are the most creative because they're not like, it's just like let me do something silly and make it work, and that's great,
Yeah,
It's entertaining too.
let me do this very simple thing in the most complicated way I can. Right, like the opening
Yeah.
scene of Back to the Future where they show how, there's a whole machine set up to give the dog food every day. It's just if you
Oh yeah.
leave with the dog, then there's rotting dog food all over the counter because every day a can of dog food is automatically opened and dumped into the dog bowl.
That's true.
But I don't know, it's just interesting to watch them figure things out. And like you said, with the reverse exploits, right? It's like when programmers are looking at how do I make this work, and then they realize, oh yeah, I could just use like the unwritten features on chips to do stuff.
Oh yeah.
Because every chip manufacturer has some undocumented features here and there, and you're like, hey, look, I can use this special command in like assembly, and all of a sudden, what we're trying to do is 5 times easier. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
you just look at like I mean, the stuff they're finding, platforms that have existed, x86 instructions, they're still, things like Heartbleed, still finding stuff that is
like
novel.
it's like there's that Nintendo game like years and years ago, right? And part of the game was when you had the start screen loaded, right? The game would just basically start flying on its own, and you'd see like the whole the plane kind of just fly and do its own thing. But
Mm-hmm.
then they updated one of the chips, and then the plane crashed in the demo because they were using fixed inputs for the simulator. But because the chip changed just a little bit in its math and rounding, now the plane crashes. The player would never notice because, the game responses to your inputs like it's supposed to. But the pre-calculated inputs to make the demo work, that failed.
Yeah. And I used to work in some pretty large scale data centers, and you find interesting at big scale, you find very, very edge case kind of bugs
Yeah.
in both hardware and obviously software as well. But
Well, right now I'm working like on a school project. And the school project is to learn a computer programming language that you haven't been taught in your primary courses, which means learn a programming language that isn't Java. And a lot of my classmates are using
yeah.
Python and you know several of the other very Java adjacent pro softwares, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing COBOL.
Oh, that's gonna get you cool points for
Yeah,
the
because
vector.
there's a reason why COBOL's used on basically every single database server. Because
Yeah.
when you're searching through millions of records, being able to figure out your memory needs per calculation in bytes instead of kilobytes is a huge savings.
That's true. That's true.
And so like that's why I'm going through and doing it. Where I'm like, okay, this is definitely it's language from what the 1950s, 1940s, I think. But
Yeah.
my compiler was originally going to be a visual COBOL compiler that the school offered, but the company that makes it, they give you a 1 year license, but it expires at the end of a calendar year. So I was
Okay.
not too happy, and I'm like, oh, so now I had to buy it because I learned how to use it in, November of last year. And, the calendar year's expired, so therefore the license is expired. And after talking to their health department, or their sales department, and being like, "Look, I'm a student, and I'd like to do a project using your stuff," and I'm told this is what you want, and that's what the school says. And they're like, "Oh yeah, we'll get back to you," and never got back to me because I'm not actually offering them money. I went and
Of
found an
course.
open source COBOL compiler, and I'm like, "Oh okay," and then go through that one. And then I find out this company that makes, basically, visual COBOL for most businesses use as non-standard reserved words.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why would you use the literally the oldest computer language still in use, and then have your own custom reserved words, and then claim to be a leader in, the business programming field?
Yeah. COBOL is one of those things. It's like I feel like its existence though is mostly legacy, right? Like you could, even if you needed low level stuff, you'd get away with just C
Yeah.
or something. But it's just it's so entrenched in so many areas that like replacing it,
Yeah, and the fact that every time someone says, let's replace COBOL, they say, well, what with, right? And there's never a good concrete, yes, we should use this language to replace it, right? Like when they had Fortran, right, they replaced it with Pascal, and then very quickly, moved to C, and then C sharp, then C++. Well, C++ is object oriented, but
it's C++. Yeah.
yeah,
It was C++, then C sharp, right?
yeah. But yeah, you know what I mean? There was a very clear, you can trace the lineage of a lot of these languages where it's like, yeah, this one
Yeah.
came first, and then this one was developed, and then, the next one. But with COBOL, it's
Yeah.
the simplicity of it protects it.
There's a great YouTube channel called Computer File. Have you ever seen it?
I have not.
They interview a lot of the. In fact, one of the members of it is one of the original authors of C. Worked with like Dennis Ritchie and Ken Thompson on Unix and C back in the day, and they talk about a lot of just the fundamental ways that those languages were developed.
Yeah.
Because previously just working with bytecode and things like that. And they have a series on C and some other stuff, and it's really really fascinating. Just getting to the basics.
Yeah, it's like having going through school where they're like, oh yeah, here's how I've learned how Java's been developed like 6 or 7 times, just in my various classes where they're like, oh, and here's your introduction to Java, right? And that which is really fascinating because it's always interesting to see how they're like these people just get together and decide, well, we need to make something better from the ground up, and with these principles that people are just starting to talk about, right? Or principles that are like half implemented in other languages, but none have really really fully taken advantage of it. And then they're like, yeah, COBOL, it was developed by like business operator, government officials basically saying, well, we need to use these databases, so what are we going to do?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like they don't have copyright, they have move. Or, or was that, yeah. Oh, better go for help Stellar. But it's like, it's really interesting just seeing how it was developed and looking at like, oh, this is what you guys were planning like back in the day. And
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, all of the modern languages were developed with, they ran into some issue with an existing language, and they're like, we're gonna fix that.
yeah,
And then 9 times out of they also end up creating new problems a lot of times.
right, like Java has garbage collection,
Yeah.
which but on Minecraft here we deal with that. Like whenever the server goes cycles between what was it like 18 TPS to 6 TPS to 18 TPS, like back and forth, right? It just feels like it's like a garbage collection loop. And not an actual problem with lag, but it's just the game keeps on hitting its memory capacity, then it has to immediately deal with all of that garbage collection.
Yeah, and the way its loops are, I mean, it's also, it's single threaded.
Yeah.
It would be quite difficult at this point probably to make it multi-threaded reliably, but but that's where like languages like Go, where like we're not as they have garbage collection as well, but like it was built primarily around making threading and parallelism as easy as possible and providing some things for that. And also, like, just the biggest advantage of modern languages, in my opinion, is memory safety.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
C and things like that. You you really, really got to know what you're doing to not make something vulnerable.
yeah. And it's like, especially with COBOL, where it's like if I start overwriting memory, right, it writes to the next unit.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't go, oh yeah, you've exceeded the size for this variable. It's like, oh yeah, we'll just keep on writing. I hope you know what you're doing.
Exactly. It's like the most fundamental. It's not, and then you get to the other end of the spectrum of things like Python, and it does all of that for you, but you pay performance penalties.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, so one of the reasons why I chose COBOL is because I was just looking for something that, one, I wanted to make sure I could demonstrate that I could use a language that wasn't just object oriented. Because everything I was being taught was like everything's object oriented, which is great until you're like, you go for a job and they're like, yeah, we don't use that here. Like, at least now I can put down like on my resume saying, hey, I can use these other styles of languages. I do grasp how they work.
and when you go for a job, I mean, I've done a lot of job interviews, and it's not. There's places if you're getting interviewed by a company and they're giving you like trivia questions and expecting like or ridiculous stuff like how many golf balls can you fit in a bus or something, like you don't want to work there.
Yeah.
It's the best job interviewers are the ones that like are going to look and see what you've put on your resume. They're going to ask you about that, and then they're going to see if you know what you're talking about, and then they're not going to give you the crazy hardest questions, but it's more about like, okay, cool. They're going to push you to a limit where you don't know that. Okay, well, what would you do? Where would you start next, right? And because nobody knows everything, and I can't remember half the stuff from one day to the next.
Yeah.
I have to look everything up.
Exactly. So. And, good programming is just knowing how to Google and read the documents. Right?
Exactly.
Or documentation.
Solving problems.
Yeah. But yeah, I think, good interviewers for that are basically going to turn around and say, okay, like, we want to make sure you're teachable.
Exactly. And that's why when I tell people like that are getting ready to interview, like the advice is like just talk until they tell you to shut up,
Yeah.
tell them everything you know about a subject, even if it's not something they asked you about, because they're trying to measure what you know and what you can learn,
Yeah,
and not necessarily like 100% quiz you, right? It's
right. Yeah, it's all data, like, what is it? Retrieval and not retention.
yeah. The worst thing you can do is just say like I don't know, and then like don't answer the question. You got to say like, well, I don't know exactly, but I know this and this and this about that language, or I've seen this and this.
Or,
And then a lot of times they'll follow up with a question that in a realm you are familiar with,
or,
right?
yeah, I don't know, but I know where I'd go to find out.
Exactly.
It's like weirdly with COBOL, right? Because when I changed compilers from the one company one to the open source one, I had to go through all of the all of the keywords. So I'm like, well, I need to make sure like they're all implemented. Otherwise, what's the point of doing my project if I can't actually use the coding properly? Because they're saying, this one was COBOL like 1987, 1985 standard,
Yeah.
but they have components from the newer versions of COBOL already implemented. So it's like, oh, I better go through and make sure the ones I need are actually in there, because if they're not, like, I need a different solution.
Yeah.
And I had other backup project ideas, like there's a programming language called Rust, which is
Yeah.
new, but it's like specifically for memory usage optimization, because it's when they realized that we went from a world where we had pretty much unlimited memory to a world where smartphones were very memory limited in a lot of cases. And when we're talking about battery lifetime and life cycle, and you're like, well, if the battery dies on the phone because I keep doing a whole bunch of unnecessary computations, the client's going to be upset.
Exactly.
So like the priorities of all these languages have changed because just the systems we're using them on are different.
Yeah. Rust has definitely been on my list to learn, mainly because once I saw that it's like actually been accepted in mainline kernel.
Yeah.
Like that's a big deal. That cements it for years as an important language.
Yeah.
And considering that they've been like only C for so long.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm going to grab these shulkers and we're going to take them to basically the next corner. If you want to grab the last little bit here. I'll fly down.
Oh, I can.
Yeah, so the plan here is just to kind of sort of get this job as much done poorly as we can, just so we can then turn around and be like, okay, we've completed enough of this. So let's jump on that. Well, make sure you check your boot durability.
Oh, it is the soul speed.
Yeah.
I've got like notifications on durability, but yeah, now that I look at it, you're right. It's wearing on them. Has anybody thought about doing Spilly in Soul soon?
Probably, but where are we
Okay.
gonna attack now?
Over there.
Oh, it despawned. Oh well. I guess we're gonna have to start filling this in then. But yeah, I think people discussed it, but like, I'm trying to stick to one community project at a time, because if it gets to be too much, then we get too not too distracted, but like too much gets what's my words in English?
Too many things.
Yeah.
At once.
Yeah. Like we'll never get anything done because we're just so focused on.
Yeah.
So try to limit it at least a little bit so we can go. So, to find this above a bit.
Sounds like my daughter is just getting home, so I will probably have to sign off here for a bit.
Okay.
I think
Thanks
I'll
for
be
coming
back
out to
on
help.
this evening, though.
Yeah, I'm gonna be streaming
No
for
problem.
another half an hour or so. And then
Cool.
coming back tomorrow to, keep going.
Right on. I expect, yeah, I'll be around tomorrow.
Okay.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining me. Oh, sorry about that, Grace. Post shooter, yes. Yeah, good luck with the brain, because ZF stuff is just intense. Go. Slowly working my way through this. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of repetitive work for this project, but yeah, that's the price you pay for these giant projects, where it just goes on over and over. Good luck building that brain, Grace, because it's always fun, but gets complicated when you start adding variables.
Hi, Kindless.
Hey Stellar, how are you today? I'm streaming. Welcome to stream.
I got most of the arrows fixed in that hallway we've been doing.
Oh, nice.
But there's some at the corner that's being guarded by hoglins.
Oh.
So I didn't fix those yet.
That's okay. I would just skip it for now.
Yeah.
Because I'm just.
But everything else looks good.
That's good. Yeah, I'm just going through and getting as much done with as I'm trying to get the 80% done that takes 20% of the time.
Yes.
So, that way I can be like, see, look how much I got done in 2 hours of work, and meanwhile someone has to spend like 2 hours placing buttons to finish up things.
Yes.
So now I'm just slowly working through. Do you have Lightmatic installed?
No, but I've got a handle on the design. So
We'll have to thank him for that design.
it's a nice one.
I know she put it together based on the primary tunnel designs that the group of the designers put together. but I am, yeah, very happy about how easy it is to repeat without needing to use the Lightmatica. It's not going to stop me from using Lightmatica, but I'm glad we don't need it for every single aspect of the design.
I need an ender chest really quick.
I don't have one in my inventory. I'm a bad person.
I'm gonna see whoever portal is right here if they have something. As long as it doesn't say keep out.
You know, that's how I should label all my portals. I feel like
I
people might
live
complain.
next to you. I can't keep out.
It's true. I think people might complain if I'm like, yeah, put a big keep out sign on the portal to the post office. I think that kind of defeats the purpose.
Ooh, good. Bites of Infinity has one. Yay.
Nice. Yeah.
The room underneath there is. I'm not gonna fall and hurt myself.
Yeah, don't actually do that.
Why is that different? Oh, that's why.
Something was different?
No, it's all good.
Okay. I guess I should talk about something, otherwise people are going to complain I'm not interesting enough to stream. Well, I don't think that's true, but
I can talk about how I went to 3 stores before I even found the thing I wanted to get today.
oh wow. But you did find what you were looking for?
I did find what I was looking for. I'm amazed that I found it.
Well, I'm glad you found what you were looking for, because the alternative is, you know, you went to 3 stores and didn't find anything.
Well, I found other stuff that I want, but I try not to shop based on just what I want, what I see, I get. I want to go in with a plan.
Oh, that makes sense. I should probably go along this outside edge too, since there's so many ghasts here. Blue terracotta. There we go. Got some gas shields. Oh yeah, I'm glad you found what you were looking for.
I'm just mad that it's a plant that I can't actually, like, buy legally right now. Not because the plant is illegal, but there's, mussels, invertebrates that live in it, that grow eggs in it, so it would be dangerous to move those mussels around with the plant.
Oh, like zebra mussels?
Yeah, zebra mussels, that's what they are.
Yeah. We have those jerks in the Great Lakes in Ontario, and well, yeah, Ontario, but they basically,
That's basically the reason they're illegal.
yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, they've basically taken over all the mussels, and you're just like, that's not good for the environment, because they're, you know, killing all the fish and eating all the plankton or something.
Something to that extent.
Yeah. Definitely can see why, because they're exposed to something, you wouldn't be able to buy it.
But I basically got a little plastic thingy that looks like the moss ball.
Oh, nice.
E3. Yeah, I don't have Lightmatica on, and I wish I did just for the easy place. Trying not to place a block where you want it to go is annoying enough.
It's a lot of Enderman out here. Should put that Enderman machine button on a machine.
Is there an Ender Blender in the Nether?
No, but there is the button at spawn that'll kill them. How much further do I have to go?
And I got to pet some cats in the adoption center at Petco, because that's where I went.
Oh, nice. Sounds like fun.
I don't have time to have a pet right now, but I would like a cat someday.
My pets are a lot of work. But, I'm lazy.
I would say they're pretty worth the work that they are.
Well, I can barely take care of myself.
And that's why I say someday I want a pet. Good.
I didn't throw yet. No, not yet. Looks like we have 15 minutes to go. Or, sending everyone off to draw for charity. I think right now they're playing Uno.
I don't think I've played Uno in more than 20 years.
I've had friends who are really, really into it, so I played it a lot, and then other friends were just like, yeah, no, this is too, call it a kid's game. And I'm like, there's nothing about a kid's game that's like, pick up 72.
Yeah, it's such a simple game, but it's frustrating when you play with the right people.
Yeah, well, at least it's not Monopoly frustrating.
I think Monopoly has only that distinction. That's the only reason to play Monopoly.
So you never want to play board games again?
I don't want to play Monopoly.
Well, that's fair. It does upset me that the game that is the reason why monopolies are bad is also the game that people use as, oh yeah, this is a fun family game. I'm like, well, maybe if you don't like your family that much.
No, I'll just leave that spot where it is.
There you go. I mean, it's the end of the line. Top half is done. It's first song. Go. Place the thing sideways. Good job, me. guess making a mob farm up here isn't the best idea.
Keep falling into the.
Hello, Mr. Hardluck. How are you doing tonight? First time chat from the most famous wrestler to play on the Joe Hill server.
Can this piglin like jump down on me and hurt me? Coglin.
Oh, maybe, but only if it actually does it.
Ha. You can't reach me. Ha. I'm gonna go back this way because I don't want to reach me.
It's okay. I would hit it with
I have
a
less than,
arrow, but I'm not using arrows this season.
I have less than 5 stacks of stuff, so I have room for most of these. I'll go back and double check yours. Good.
I was thinking about dropping on me, but it hasn't yet. So I'm sure at the moment I look away, it'll drop directly on me and push me into lava. Ah, tunnel time.
Okay.
Now I join the game.
Yay.
Keep checking my boots to make sure they're not breaking.
That's why I'm glad I'm not wearing soul speed on my boots.
Oh, is that why everything takes forever? Once you get used to it, I just can't, like, not use it.
Honestly, I just need to remember to eat more frequently, and then it just doesn't take too long.
Oh. Actually, when I have a speed beacon down, that's when I forget to do it, because I don't notice that I'm getting slow.
Well, I hope we get full coverage of speed on the Nether tunnels. Like, that would be the coolest thing.
Well, we do have the beacons. Just need to sit down and do the math and figure it out.
Yeah. Can't be a difficult task.
Miss jump boost when I build. Okay. How am I doing? Time? Yeah. Hour 57 minutes. Probably going to call it soon. I'm ready to draw for charity people.
All right.
So I think they're still playing Uno, which is good because that's an easy thing to rate people to. Come on, you can do it. So I'm going to stream at the same time tomorrow. 6 to 8 Eastern, or 5 to 7 Joe time, or 3 to 5 Pacific.
Yes.
Eventually I'll know all my time zones. I can be like, and in Europe it's this time. That was a little bit of lag there. Yeah. Don't really want a super intense one. But also I need to learn how to talk for like 2 hours straight because I'm already starting to lose my voice a bit.
Yeah, I don't understand how people can do that, especially while like working on something.
Practice, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
I naturally fall into silence when I'm focusing. Other people maybe are really good at just generating noise to fill in the blanks.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I don't think I'll ever be a streamer because of that reason.
Maybe like knitting streams or something.
Which is nice that craft streams have a bit of a different atmosphere.
Yeah. I feel like a craft stream, not really. People aren't showing up to just be entertained by the crafter.
I mean, there are some that definitely work on that bit, but usually it's humor entertaining rather than everything always has to be going. Okay, I am all out of terracotta.
Nice.
Now, I'm out. And I know I grabbed the last from the shulker box that you had.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I think when I get to the end of this row for pillars, I'm going to call it because there's like not too much left and my boots are almost broken, so I'll have to fix them. So I want to thank NJ for starting up the stream with me and talking about Draw for Charity and all the various groups that they support, Child's Play and World Builders during their, winter fundraiser. And Altnell for coming in and helping, and of course you, Stellar, for coming out to help.
You're welcome.
I very much appreciate the help and support. I know this big community project kind of stalled out when we got 1.19. So getting people back into it is like, I'm sure each time we do this, more people will show up just to be, oh yeah, I heard about it yesterday, I can do it today kind of thing. So close to getting that one perfect. There we go. So, thanks for coming out, Stellar. I'm gonna start doing my end of stream pitch and then, clean up a bit here and go get some water and hydrate. So,
Yeah,
thanks for coming out, everybody. I know it was a slow stream, but we're trying to get back on track, and and I figure maybe at the end of this weekend we might have the tunnels finished or close enough that we can feel the proximity to completion. I am going to raid Draw for Charity. Whose username I need to look up. Make sure I get it right. Or, copy it into my text screen. How hard is it to copy something? Copy. Draw for Charity. Let's hope I spelled it right. It'd be real embarrassing if I didn't. Okay. Okay. Well, I created the raid, so I don't know what they're doing over there, but hopefully it's nothing too strenuous. And I hope everybody has a great night, and thanks for coming out for the stream, and we'll stream more, and hopefully by the end of the weekend it'll be a proper event with a bunch of viewers and participants. So have a great day, everybody.